So when we live by the hormones of stress and all of the energy goes to these hormonal centers and away from the heart, of course the heart is going to be the first organ that's starved of energy. And when we live by the hormones of stress, we will always try to force the outcome. We'll always try to push and make it happen because we are matter trying to change matter. When you become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, no time, and you become pure consciousness, a thought impossibility, the moment you are consciousness, now you have dominion over your body. Now you can change something in your environment, and now you can create some future time. And the moment we saw people become pure consciousness, and we will talk about that after the break, the brain naturally gets organized. The hormones of stress, when we are under the gun of the fight or flight nervous system, the brain and the heart move out of rhythm. It's like a group of people playing the drums all at the same time with no rhythm. It's noise. And that's what happens to the neural network in the heart and the neural networks in the brain. And they actually, if you saw the brain on a functional scan, it begins to compartmentalize. Different compartments of the brain are no longer communicating with each other because different communities are saying, hey, it's not a time to communicate now. There's a tiger on our back here. We got to run. And so the long-term effects of stress causes the brain to move into what's called high beta brainwave patterns, like driving your sports car in first gear. And different compartments of the brain no longer communicate with each other. And if you were to measure that on a brain scan, it's very erratic patterns. The moment you become pure consciousness, you forget about yourself. That's my definition of creation. The moment that happens, the brain goes, thank God he's out of the way. Now I can get organized again. The operator is finally gone for a few minutes. And we started in that event, in that February event, teaching people how to become pure consciousness. And when that happened, we saw their hearts get highly coherent. We saw their brains get highly coherent. And it's kind of an irony. If you want to change something about your body, you got to forget about your body. You want to change something, problem in your life, you got to forget about your life. You want to create some future time, you have to forget about time. And you have to become no face, no gender, no profession. You have to become pure consciousness. And we saw it over and over again that 91% of our people that had their brains scanned in our first event had a more than 80% change in their brain for the better. And so the concept of information to transformation is to empower you that it's possible, that all of this information and science and everything that's coming out right now is for us to do something with. And this is a time in history where it's not enough to know. It's a time in history to know how. And when you give common people the opportunity to understand the truth about themselves, and then you inspire them to go out and try it. To try it like a scientist. Hey, I'm going to change the way I think and feel. I should see some effect in my life. And the moment I can correlate the feedback in my life with what I did, I'm going to do it again. And so we've had people around the world heal themselves of all kinds of conditions. We've had people win the lottery. We've had people create new opportunities for themselves because nobody is so special to be excluded from this phenomenon. And the phenomenon is that you are a creator. And when you live by the hormones of stress, you forget that, and so do I. And when we live by the hormones of stress, we are always trying to change matter by being matter. We're being a brain trying to change a brain. We're being matter trying to change something in our life. But when people begin to understand how to apply these principles and they begin to practice them and make them a skill, and the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So think about this. What if you woke up in the morning and instead of getting out of bed and doing the same thing as you did the day before, and going through the same routine as you did for the last 5 years, what if you woke up in the morning and you said, you place your hand over your heart and you say, I'm going to teach you what it feels like to be noble today. I'm going to train you to know what abundance is. And you begin to marry a clear intention with an elevated emotion, and you memorize that feeling, and you're able to maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day. Get ready. Because something unusual is going to happen in your life. That's the law. And the hardest part about all of this, hardest part, is simply making the time to do it. Making time for our precious selves to decide then, well, geez, I want to be wealthy and abundant. Well, if I want to be wealthy and abundant, then I can't feel lack, because a wealthy person never feels lack. And if I feel lack, I'm going to attract lack. Gold only attracts gold. Lead doesn't attract gold. And so then when we see our life now as an initiation, and we have to meet the conditions in our life from a greater level of mind every day, then wouldn't it be a good idea every day to ask yourself a question like, what is the greatest expression of myself that I can be today? One lifetime today. Can I demonstrate love? Can I be patient? Can I be filled with energy and enthusiasm? Can I give? Who in history do I admire that I want to be like? And you begin to rehearse a new way of being and begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain so you have the circuits in place that when you open your eyes, you're somebody else. And you get that heart-centered emotion going. You move out of these survival centers, and the moment you open your heart, it's a fact. The HeartMath Institute did the research. Take a clear intention and marry it with an elevated emotion, and you change matter. You alter DNA at a distance, because the thoughts you think are like the electrical charge in the quantum field, and the feelings that you emote are like the magnetic charge. And how you think and how you feel broadcasts an electromagnetic signature that influences every single atom in your life. And it means that all of the conditions in our outer world somehow reflect some aspect of us. And if you want peace in the world, you better not be arguing with your coworker. It doesn't work that way. And if you want to experience true fascination for life, make time for fascination. I was in Barcelona a little ways back, and I was invited to speak to the ministry of all the ministries in the government there, 17 different ministries. And they're in a crisis right now. And the one thing I didn't want to be was some know-it-all American, you know. And I said, how do you become supernatural? You got to start doing what's unnatural. When there's a crisis and everybody is in lack, that's the time to give. When everybody else is in fear, that's the time to demonstrate courage. When everybody else is hostile and judging, that's the time to show compassion. And if we can continuously do, over and over again, what is so unnatural, sooner or later will become supernatural. Wouldn't you agree? So then if you're working on your anger and your frustration, and I'm working on my fear and my anxiety and my judgment, and I'm taking care of me and you're taking care of you, then everybody was doing that, we would sooner or later start to see some change in the world. Yes? So then we have to begin to start somewhere. And the place we start then is looking within and beginning to look at some of those emotions that keep us anchored to the past, that literally begin to break us down. And if a person can move into an elevated state of being every day, and they understand that they're signaling new genes just by doing that, just by doing it. If you have that understanding, you will produce greater results. Because if you can begin to understand that when you begin to change your state of being, that a thought begins to activate new neural networks in your brain. New neural networks in your brain begin to fire and wire to create a hologram or a picture That hologram or picture signals the limbic brain to make neuropeptides. And neuropeptides are chemical messengers that signal hormones. And hormones and neuropeptides begin to dock on receptor sites of cells. And cells begin to get a new message and signal new genes. And new genes make new proteins. And new proteins means the expression of life. And the expression of life is equal to the health of your body, just by changing a thought. So this is a time in history where we have to meet these challenges with a greater level of mind. And we can't keep doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions, and living by the same emotions and secretly expecting our life to change. We have to meet all of these challenges, and we have to be the heroes and the heroines that begin to leave a legacy in this particular time. There's a stigma that you and I have been conditioned into believing that all leaders get it in the end. Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, William Wallace, Joan of Arc, they all got it in the end. It's a subconscious conditioning that leaders somehow pay the price with their life. You ever see a group of birds that all move in the same direction? You ever see the fish that all swim in the same? If you study that phenomenon in biology, that's called emergence. You would think that there's a leader, like it's a top-down phenomenon. Turns out there's no leader. It's a bottom-up phenomenon. Everybody is leading. There's one mind, one consciousness. So you can't take out all leaders if everybody's leading now, could you? So this is a time in history where emergence is the model, that we have to lead by example. And all of this information is to empower you to understand that it's possible.